Boys will be boys is an adage used to explain when boys and men do something stupid, thinking with their penis instead of their brains. Many times, bad things happen when men got sexually frustrated and attempted to ease that frustration. When dum-dums can't find a mate, they can make rash decisions that lead to their junk getting stuck in places it never should have been in the first place. Here's a list of people that didn't heed that advice. Make sure to press like and subscribe to our channel, or 7 years of bad luck for your penis. Last month in Worms, Germany, a musclehead reportedly stuck his swollen member into the hole of a 2.5 kilogram weight plate. In a panic, the man needed assistance from local fire department to get his junk free. Firefighters took over 3 hours alone to get the chastity weight off of him. They worked with a series of power tools to get him out, including both a cutting grinder and a vibrating saw. The fire department posted the nasty bits on their Facebook page, warning people against such temptations. The man very well could have ended up losing his member altogether. Back in 2013, a man in London decided that the slot on his toaster reminded him of a robotic vagina and decided to give it his best.
I mean, it's different from the stuff on Earth.
He too wound up calling assistance from his local firefighters. While the man requested anonymity, the fire department released this story. They were reportedly fed up with men getting their members stuck in appliances. They had noticed a considerable uptick in appliance-related calls after the release of 50 Shades of Grey. So, they dubbed the phenomenon the 50 Shades Effect. Quote, I don't know whether it's the 50 Shades effect, but the number of incidents involving items like handcuffs seem to have gone up, London firefighter Dave Brown said. In addition to the toaster oven situation, London emergency services had to deal with the following since the release of 50 Shades. 79 incidents involving people being trapped in handcuffs, 9 instances of men with rings stuck on their penises. In London, there have been 1,300 calls since 2010 involving people with their hands or genitals, quote, trapped or stuck. That's a considerable increase and proves how influential media can be to a species of animal that's one of perhaps 2 or 3 with dolphins and apes that have sex for fun. Considering the viral video of a chimp bumping uglies with a frog, it's nice to know that we're not alone when it comes to using random objects for forbidden pleasure. Speaking of 50 Shades of Grey, when the London Fire Brigade released the story of the man in the toaster as a cautionary tale, they should have warned people about penis rings too. But they didn't, and the 50 Shades effect continues. Unabated from 2013 until February of this year, they announced again that they'd been responding to a massive amount of calls involving men getting their members stuck in penis rings. Between April of 2016 and February of 2017, the fire brigade had responded to almost 10 calls involving men, their schlongs, and penis rings. In addition to cock rings, they also had been responding to a ton of calls involving handcuffs. Meanwhile, according to that report, the number of calls involving men getting stuck in household appliances had dropped significantly. So, the brigade started a new campaign dubbed the 50 Shades of Red. At the time, the director of operations of London's fire brigade said, "We're pleased that fewer people are getting themselves stuck in difficult situations and reducing calls out. However, it seems like the 50 Shades effect is still leading to some embarrassing call-outs. I'd like to remind everyone that 999 is an emergency number and should only be used as such. If there's a genuine emergency, fire crews will of course attend and will be on the scene to help within minutes." He concluded, quote, "If the ring doesn't fit, don't force it on." If only someone had told Smeagol. Of all the materials a dude can consider slipping his junk into, metal should be the last one. It's unforgiving when it comes to bending or changing shape. It can't feel good in the first place either. A man in Spain failed to heed warning and stuck his wiener in a steel tube that was around 2 centimeters in diameter. Take from that what you will. Per usual, the fire brigade was dispatched and worked on the piece of pipe. Because of the amount of time it took, the man's sausage was almost amputated. The 52-year-old man's dong was inflamed and still erect within the steel tube. In addition to the 2 centimeter diameter, it was 4 millimeters thick and 5 centimeters in length. At first, doctors thought amputation was the sole solution, but the fire brigade rescued the man's mini-me. To cut the tube, they used a tool that the man had purchased himself earlier that month. Without it, the firefighters wouldn't have been able to remove the tube and his penis would have wound up on the operating table. The removal took over 2 hours and according to the fire brigade spokesperson, was a quote, team effort. Considering the man purchased the tool they used, he played a huge part on that team. But considering the size of the metal tube, he perhaps wasn't that big of a member. A 28-year-old South African man apparently thought he'd surprise his wife by putting his wedding ring around his penis. You know, like every girl grows up dreaming of. While the logistics sound impossible, pictures suggest the man was normal when it came to size. When the unfortunate man placed the ring on his member, quote, for erotic reasons on the recommendation of his friend who totally exists and is not made up, he came closer to losing his penis than anyone mentioned so far. The situation was so rare and intense that it ended up in the South African Medical Journal, described as, quote, penile strangulation and, quote, rarely described medical emergency. It represented a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for the surgeons present. According to the journal, after hours of attempting to remove the ring with multiple tools, the surgeons determined that the ring was too, quote, wide and thick. As the penis reportedly turned blue from swelling, the only course of action was to use an aspiration technique, a type of biopsy procedure. The surgeons inserted a fine needle into the swollen member to release pressure and fluid, allowing the phallus to return to its former glory and slip back out of the ring.
That vile fiend!
Dad, that's his crotch.
Sounds like a type of torture even Genghis Khan would have called overkill. A lonely 50-year-old man thought he had found the perfect replacement for a woman in October of last year. The bottle of beer he had just consumed. Pleasuring himself to help deal with his loneliness, he made the matter much, much worse because he won't be able to ever have sex again in his life. Dr. Dennis Chirnos, the urologist who performed the surgery to remove what was left of the man's penis, spoke with the media in Honduras and summed up the case perfectly. Quote, yes, it's a strange case. It's happened before, but it's still strange. We had a 50-year-old patient that, because he didn't have a girlfriend or wife, wanted to relieve his sexual frustrations. So he put his penis in a bottle, and this caused the death and necrosis of the penis. When he arrived 4 days later, we had to amputate the penis completely because it was completely dead. Wait, question. So he came with the bottle still attached to his penis? The doctor said yes, when you put your penis into a bottle, it causes a constriction in the blood vessels of the penis, and in 4 hours you can lose the penis. This is an embarrassing emergency. He didn't get the medical attention in time, and this caused the penis to begin to decay and die completely. There was no choice but to remove the penis. It had gone completely black and begun to decay. The necrosis was very severe. According to the urologist, the man will still be able to urinate out of the stump they left for him, but that's about it. It's the ultimate irony. You can't help but feel for the guy who can never feel again. We all know car lovers, but none like this. There's a few things that a man loves more than his automobile. For whatever reason, cars appeal to manly men in a way that few things do. Some men love their cars on an almost sexual level. They respond to pictures of muscle cars with the same oohs and ahs that they would for a model in lingerie. So it's no surprise that a man in Brazil took that one step further and ended up having sex with the tailpipe of his car. There's a video online of a man having his way with the exhaust of a Volkswagen hatchback. When the man turns around and realizes he's being filmed, he's so horny he just keeps on thrusting away like his life depends on it. This entry is a bit different than the others in that it wasn't so much a sexual thing as a call of nature thing. Considering the horrifying outcome though, it's worthy of a mention. According to reports, a man under the influence got the urge to drain his bladder at a bus stop in the cold winter of Stavropol, Russia. Because he was 3 sheets to the wind and it was 22 below zero, he decided that the bus shelter was the best spot for him to free willy. As he went about his business, he staggered and the tip of his wet willy touched frozen metal. Just like in A Christmas Story, his wang fused with the bus shelter. To add insult to injury, a large group of people formed around him, some to offer advice, others just to troll. A passerby named Valery Levchenko ran home, grabbed a kettle of warm water, and freed the man from his icy embarrassment. He refused medical help and took off running after he was freed. Speaking of losing your penis because of the urge to use it, in 2008, a 41-year-old man in Hong Kong named Li Xing was also in dire straits. Zing, who was most likely homeless, told police that he, quote, thought it would be fun to have sex with a specifically designed park bench. News crews swarmed on the rescue efforts as doctors, police, and surprise surprise, the fire department raced to save his penis. There's graphic footage of a rescue online, an effort that took a few hours. Doctors attempted to drain blood from Zing's penis to reduce the swelling and allow him to rebuild his dignity. However, that didn't work.
Great.
Rescuers had to cut through the steel to free him from the bench. Even after they succeeded in cutting the section of metal around Zing's groin, they still had to get him to the hospital. His penis was still encased in steel. It took surgeons 4 more hours to free him. Word was that if he had been stuck for 1 more hour, the doctors would have been forced to amputate. I just hope that bench was sexy. Most of these stories sound too ridiculous to be true, but this one really takes the cake. A dwarf performing at the Fringe Festival in Edinburgh, Scotland, takes top spot on this list of embarrassing proclivities. Daniel Blackner performed in the Circus of Horrors under the name Captain Dan the Demon Dwarf. Part of his show involved a Henry vacuum and his weenie. He noticed before the show that part of the vacuum that connected his member to the household appliance had gone loose. It was last minute, so he could only find superglue to reattach the missing piece to the vacuum. Because the show was already starting, he only had about 20 seconds for the glue to dry, instead of the 20 minutes it requires. The adhesive dried on his penis, gluing it to the vacuum. After trying to remove the appliance, the Demon Dwarf was taken to the Accident and Emergency Department of the Edinburgh Royal Infirmary. There, a team of nurses tried over and over for hours to free his little general from his penile prison. Captain Dad said, quote, "It was the most embarrassing moment of my life when I got wheeled into a packed A&E with a vacuum attached to me. I just wish the ground could swallow me up. Luckily, they saw me quickly, so the embarrassment was short-lived." A source from the Daily Mail in the UK confirmed with the hospital that they did indeed treat the performer, despite saying they couldn't confirm how he was treated for confidentiality reasons. Either way, since we have photographic proof, this may be the best example of what not to do in internet history. Make sure to press like on this video and subscribe to our channel for more videos to come, or your penis will get stuck somewhere you don't want it to be.
My groin!